Why do you believe the bond between humans and animals is so important? And how can we lean into our relationships as veterinarians, as nonprofit professionals to help strengthen that bond and strengthen our communities? So, without any further ado, I want to introduce our guest today, Heather Berst, who is Pet Care Medical Affairs Senior Manager at Zoetis. And for those of you who don't know, Zoetis is a global animal health company that develops, manufactures, and sells vaccines, medicines, diagnostics, and other technologies for animals. So Heather's going to share a bit about her journey from veterinarian to street dog coalition volunteer and discuss the impact of the human animal bond on pet guardians and communities. So, we're going to be exploring the importance of accessible veterinary care for animal welfare and public health, and also maybe learn a little bit about how Zoetis supports organization like the Street Dog Coalition to ultimately enhance animal health. So, welcome to the podcast, Heather. Woo!
Thank you. Woo! I'm excited to be here. And
We are
my favorite
so
food is donuts, by the way. So I'm not
ah,
dropping the emojis in, but I'm obsessed with donuts. So
Heather, I have not had a donut in quite some time. That sounds really, really good. And I just think I went like a few weeks forgetting donuts existed. Okay, so
oh.
on the top of my list for after this podcast is going to be getting some donuts and thinking of you. I love that. I love that. I love that. And I started off our conversation before we went live thanking you for being the absolute best, telling you how much we love Zoetis at the Street Dog Coalition. And for those of you who don't know, Zoetis has been a longtime supporter of the Street Dog Coalition. You guys really go above and beyond to help us help our clients and to help us ensure that financial barriers don't affect the deep-seated and much needed human animal bond that individuals who are experiencing homelessness feel toward their animals. So I just want to publicly shout it from the rooftops. Thank you so, so much, Heather. Thanks to you and everyone at Zoetis for all the ways that you support us.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We're really, really, pleased to be able to support such a great organization that does amazing work.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather. And let's get the ball rolling and chat a little bit about what you have learned from your experiences as a veterinarian. And you mentioned volunteering with the Street Dog Coalition. So how have this is a very broad question. I love these kinds of questions, but
Yeah.
how have your experiences as a veterinarian, whether you're volunteering your time with the Street Dog Coalition or, being a veterinarian in other ways, how has that experience shaped your approach to caring for animals in need?
That I feel like one of the things, as I've been a vet quite some time, and I feel like over the years it's really given me a really good appreciation of the human animal bond and kind of everything that human animal bond brings to both, honestly, people and pets and society. I'll say kind of, all three. I know we all love our pets, right? So we love them dearly. We know they bring us like emotional and support. But I think the really, really cool thing is, as a vet over the years, and I also will say this, I think there's more and more studies available. Not only, do these pets make us happy and I want to support that bond, but they actually have real impact on our health and our emotions too. So I know that, practicing good veterinary care, working for a company like Zoetis that supports being able to provide good veterinary care is really, really, critical for all people and all their animals to maintain as much time they can together, and happy time together too.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And I know you mentioned that you have a dog barking in the back. What's your dog's name?
Yeah, so her name is Dottie. She's a rescue from a Chinese crested hairless. So she's a little hairless dog. And, I
Oh,
was
that
kind
is
of
so
thinking,
cool.
yeah, yeah, no, and it's funny, like I moved to a new city like a year ago with Dottie, and it's tough being this in the new city. And I will say the one thing she has really done, it's kind of sad but true, about half of our friends that I've made down here in Asheville are from the dog. Like just being out and about, and Dottie's responsible for a lot of my friends. It's
That
weird.
That's amazing. And it's funny, as a cat lady myself, I am thinking that might be the secret to my making more friends. I in the past have walked my parents' dog, and I've walked dogs for my friends, and it never ceases to amaze me how many people stop and chat with you when you're
Right.
walking a dog. And I think that's a really what you're shining a light on is really important to consider, because not only do these relationships with our animals, not only is that relationship that we have with our animal really critical to our own health and our own happiness, but it also is this kind of gateway into establishing relationships with other people. And as you know, I'm one of those extroverted introverts. I think oftentimes it's really helpful to have an animal that you can kind of leverage to build relationships with other people. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a great way, to just approach all different types of people. And,
Yeah.
Dottie's a little bit unusual, so people do tend to approach and ask about what she is. But it's a really good way. And then the conversation can go off in different directions, and you can form, real bonds with anybody you meet walking around. And it's been great, and it really does. And if bringing a cat out on a leash, honestly, probably even get more more
You're on to
comments than a
something.
little hairless dog, I bet.
You're on to something. Do you hear that, cats? You're next. One of my cats, I've actually done that with one of my cats before. She loves it. And the other one has a full-blown panic attack, but she has a
Oh,
panic attack over everything.
yeah.
Um,
You definitely
so
have to have the right cat to take
you
him out on a
have to
leash, to
have
do
the
some
right
training too.
cats. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So you have, illustrated the importance of that bond on individuals, on pet guardians, and how that bond can also impact the relationships we create with other people. But I'm going to ask you another question about the human animal bond, and I'm wondering, so let's get some context for this question. I think oftentimes people who aren't in the line of work that we're in, they sometimes see, pets on the street living with individuals who are also in between housing situations. And they may think to themselves, wow, like, that dog, what a shame. That dog deserves a good home. That dog deserves so much better. When in reality, you and I know that not only is that dog, in many cases happy and healthy to be with their human, but oftentimes that dog could end up in a shelter. That dog could be euthanized, and one might argue that the situation the dog is in now, as a temporary situation, is perfectly fine. So maybe you can shine a light on what impact the human animal bond has on the animal, regardless of their guardian's financial status.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I 100% agree with you, and think it's such a great point to talk about. And I think I'll say it, I'm going to say it both from actually the person who owns the pet and from the pet's perspective, both, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I'll say, first thinking about that person who owns that dog. I mean, I think probably, obviously, you and I, and probably a lot of people listening to this, passionately love their animals and know the benefits they bring. But excited to say, for people maybe who aren't as big of animal people or don't really quite understand the bond, there's actually real like research and science behind how that human animal bond really helps, one health, and helps both the dog and the person, be healthier and happier. We know that people with pets will experience like less depression. It's going to help with childhood development, with aging, PTSD. It even helps with, with weight loss if you're going to walk your pet more. So we know it has all these proven benefits to that person with the human animal bond, I think is critical. And, for that animal, that is with that person, I think when there's a strong human animal bond, they're going to want to take better care of their pet when there's that strong bond. And things that really benefit everybody is part of that is, making sure that pet, we talk about with preventative care and moving into veterinary care and what's the benefit to the pet is, gets maybe parasite control, gets that rabies vaccine. And rabies is a disease that's 100% fatal and can be transmitted to people and other animals. So I think there's a win-win for both the animal and the person in that situation when there's a strong animal bond. And I also think there's another layer of society benefiting from it too, because it's going
Yes.
to help that animal and that person be more successful, more happy, and really, I think it's a win-win-win the whole way around.
So well said. I enjoyed, you had me at One Health. Uh,
Yep.
and I should say that two of my favorite people have commented on our live video so far. One of our supporters, John Mark, said, "Cat lady, do you have over 40 cats, Daria?" John Mark, I do not have over 40 cats.
That's funny.
But this sounds like a goal. I think,
Ah,
as I think it would benefit the Street Dog Coalition for me to adopt 40 cats. So thank you, John Mark. And Katie Campbell, president of Red Rover, one of our favorite animal nonprofits, commented. And
oh, nice.
yeah, Katie said pets are such great social connectors.
They really
So
are.
yeah, they really are. And Katie says hi, Katie. Uh, so I really appreciate you using the words One Health. For individuals in our audience who aren't familiar with One Health, can you shine a light on what that term means? It's a huge priority for us at the Street Dog Coalition. So what does One
Yeah,
Health
I mean,
mean and why is it important?
One Health is amazing, and I'm so glad over the past probably 15 to 20 years that One Health initiatives across the country have been growing, and there's more awareness. But I'm with you. I think there probably needs to be a little more awareness. But in my mind, like One Health is realizing that really like human health and animal health, and honestly, even the environmental health are all tied together. There's not human medicine and veterinary medicine and some environmental science that they're really related. And when you think about topics, like using antibiotics and the overuse of antibiotics, it's human medicine, veterinary medicine, huge topic. I mentioned rabies, and to me rabies is another great example of of a One Health initiative, because it's a disease people can get, other animals can get, and by making sure animals get that rabies vaccine, it's going to be important for both that dog, other animals in the whole ecosystem, and then the person who owns that pet as well.
Mm.
So that's to me a really good visual example of how it benefits three different things by having that, One Health approach.
That's so well said. And I really appreciate the intersectionality of the One Health approach. I think so
Yeah.
often it's easy for us in the animal care world to just look at animals in a silo, and we get so hyper focused on helping these animals that it's very easy and commonplace for us to forget about the context that this animal is living in.
Yep.
And I'm laughing because I went from personally myself being a huge animal rights advocate to becoming an environmentalist, because I realized if we're going to save all these animals, they're going to need somewhere to live. And
Yep.
I'm laughing at the simplicity of that statement, but it really is true. All of these things are interconnected. We learn that every time there's a bird flu. We learned that when COVID happened, how the health and safety of the animals that we share this planet with ultimately could be a benefit or a detriment to our health and safety in a multitude of ways. So I agree, it is so important to make sure that the animals that we care for in our homes, and I know that the animals that Zoetis cares for and vaccinates extend beyond companion animals. I think it's just really critical that their health is of utmost importance, because it also affects our health. right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the one thing I didn't mention, but you meant like is food safety, and there's huge ramifications on that piece with the One Health initiatives as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you've done such a great job at telling us why strong, healthy animals create strong, healthy communities and individuals. And could you talk a little bit about why ensuring access to veterinary care for all pets, regardless of their guardian's financial situation, why is that why is that crucial for promoting animal welfare and public health? So how does serving this marginalized group of people um, ultimately have a beneficial ripple effect?
Yeah, what I mean, and we said it earlier, Zoetis is really passionate about, animal care and animals getting the best care possible. And that definitely goes into making sure that the people who are the caretakers, that animal, are involved and that bond. And I think about why it's important. And you think about things, like we were talking about with One Health, like parasite prevention, vaccines. I mean, I think those are like the boots on the ground medical pieces when that animal gets good care. But I also feel like there's aspects with that human animal bond that we were talking about earlier. I was just looking up a study earlier that I looked up the stat, and I think it's a nice one to share and really relevant. And it was a youth experiencing homelessness. 23% of them had animals, and of those 23% that had animals, they experienced less loneliness, less depression. So I think being able to keep those individuals with those animals and living healthy lives together is going to benefit society, because they're going to be happier, they're going to be able to live more, hopefully like help with some of those loneliness, get to know people in the community. So I do think it's a win-win to be able to support both the owners and the animal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's so well said. Uh, I think that we as individuals who at this moment are not unhoused, it is our duty to look after individuals who are between housing situations, and in turn ensure that their pets, who are their family, who are extensions of themselves, who keep them sometimes feeling sane, keep them sober, keep them happy, keep them
Yeah.
hanging on. We've had lots of guests on this podcast with lived experience who are themselves in between housing situations, and they talk about how these animals, the relationships they have with their animals, have saved their lives. And in saving their lives, have allowed them and inspired them to go on to become, fabulous individuals, contributing members of society, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you saying that. And I want to get a little bit of a glimpse into, and John Mark asked a really great question that I'll kind of layer in our conversation in a moment. But I'm curious to know how. So Zoetis has sponsored the Street Dog Coalition, has been incredibly generous with their time, their talent. We love them so much. Can you talk a little bit about the experience you had volunteering with the Street
Ah,
Dog Coalition, and how does that experience and that feeling you get, and that philosophy that brought you to that moment of volunteering, how does that align with Zoetis and Zoetis's mission?
yeah. No, it was 2 years ago. We have a national veterinary conference called the American Veterinary Medical Association, or AVMA, and their national conference was in Philadelphia. And at that point, I lived in Philadelphia then, and I saw there was a volunteer opportunity, and I was aware of the Street Dog Coalition. I was like, oh, I got to do that. Honestly, super excited to be able to sort of experience the work you do. So, it was amazing. So it was a Saturday morning. We spent multiple hours, saw lots and lots of people with dogs, people with cats. And, to me, we were vaccinating animals, we were providing parasite prevention, checking for things like heartworm disease. But I think the thing that really struck me doing that event was really interacting with people. And it was a lot of the people that living in Philadelphia, like I would see or potentially walk, every day walking around Philadelphia, but to actually sit down and be able to talk to them, interact with them. And a lot of them would tell stories about how important their animal was to them and the benefits their animals brought to their lives. And it really gave me a whole new perspective on perhaps some of the situations and things people were experiencing. And I, it was amazing. And I will say, you asked how it ties in with Zoetis. Zoetis, 70 years of really providing, the best care for pets. And I think that being able to work for a company that's supporting, providing things like the vaccines, the parasite prevention, to these people's pets helps, like I said, maintain that bond, but also helps to get, for me to know people in my community. And to me, that was probably the one of the more special things about working at that event.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I really enjoy hearing about the experiences that our volunteers have at these clinics, because while they are so unique, every experience is different. They all kind of say what you just said,
Yep.
and in terms of how surprised they were, in terms of how fulfilling it felt. And we've had a lot of veterinarians come on the podcast and say that, they were really struggling with burnout. They were wondering if this
Mhm.
is the right line of work for them. They were feeling really exhausted. And while it might seem, counterintuitive to give away, your time and talent free of charge, it in many ways revived their love for veterinary
Yeah.
care. It gave them a sense of purpose. It deepened their connection to their communities, and it reignited their passion for taking care of animals. So I love
Yeah.
hearing you say the way that it made you feel. That makes perfect sense.
No, and before, and before, we went live and started recording, one of the things I was super excited to hear is that you do have a Street Dog Coalition chapter in Asheville. And I'm like, the minute we get off this recording, like, send me the information because I want to do it here. I want to be involved. I think it's such a beneficial way to be part of your local community. And really, it's a way I think I can add a benefit to where I live in this community.
Ah, we can't wait. We cannot wait. I
Yeah,
cannot
I know. I'm
write
so
that
excited. I
email
was very
fast
excited. That
enough.
was probably the highlight of my day when you told me that.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And before I let you go, Heather, I want to share with you one last question that John Mark, one of our incredible viewers and a client of ours, has
Oh, nice.
shared. And John Mark is curious to know what the future of Zoetis looks like. How are you and the individuals at Zoetis working to ensure the longevity of your business so that you can ensure the longevity of the lives of the animals that you serve?
Yeah, I think if somebody asked me, about working for Zoetis, I think one of the things that strikes me and what I like about the company is innovation. So, the world is changing. Our relationships with pets certainly has changed. And really being as innovative as possible to be able to provide the best care for those pets. So, as new things come up, being able to provide, being able to help our animals live longer, live happier lives, less pain-free lives, and really driving that innovation is really, really exciting to me. And, even in my realm while I work in Zoetis, I work with a lot of other Zoetis veterinarians, and it's just so rewarding to me to work with a group of other veterinarians who are so passionate about veterinary medicine and being able to, work for a company that we're coming together to figure out what are the best ways to help these animals, healthy, happy, long, successful lives. So
Hmm.
I think I would say my answer overarching is, drive that an innovation, looking to the future. What are new ways to help support that bond?
I love that. I'm obviously going to love that response because, like, innovation is just one of my favorite umbrella words.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm just using it when I'm making dinner. I'm using it in conversations. And what I'm really hearing here is Zoetis has this incredible ability to adapt, to remain resilient, to take a step back and to look at what's working, what could be, what could be improved, what
Yeah.
are some new illnesses that are popping up, how can we, serve our animals in a way that allows them to combat all different kinds of illnesses, and keep them happy and healthy. So I really appreciate you sharing that with me, Heather. And this has been such a fun conversation. I don't know if it's because we got like that New Jersey Philly vibe, but I could
I
keep
know,
going for
right?
hours.
I'm still always a Philly girl at heart, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's there
that's
forever.
right. That's right. You can't wash that. You can't wash that
No.
that Philly scum off of you. I say that lovingly and proudly.
Yep, no, I'm always a Philly.
Heather, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to chat with me today. We really consider you a member of our Street Dog Coalition family. I mean, once a volunteer, always a volunteer. We're gonna get you hooked up with our Asheville team,
Woo.
and we are so excited, to continue our partnership with Zoetis. Are you going to AVMA this year?
Oh, I am missing it this year. I'm
Wow.
moving like a few days ahead of time to a new house down here. So I'm not,
Okay.
but I will 100% be there next year. I actually already even oddly have it on my calendar next year. So I'll definitely be there next
Okay.
year.
I love it. Well, I will be there both this year and next year. So I cannot
Oh,
wait
good. I
to,
want to meet you in person
I
then.
can't wait. I'll hold it down for you in person this year in your absence. And then
Yeah.
next year, I'm sure we'll have you back on the podcast between then and now. But I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. I'm sure there will
Yeah.
be Zoetis folks at AVMA.
Oh, a
So
lot. Yep. There'll be a lot there. So
I'll be,
there'll
I'll
be a
be,
good representation.
I love it. I'll be dropping your name like we're old friends.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Thank you again so much, Heather, for chatting with me today. Thank you, John, Mark, Katie, to everyone else who tuned in live. And thanks to everyone who's listening to a replay of this podcast. It's always a pleasure to chat with our friends at Zoetis. And Heather, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate it. This has been fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more volunteer work with you guys. So can't
All
wait.
righty.
That'd be awesome.
I can't wait. I'm gonna let you go so I can write this email to our Asheville team and get
All
you
right.
get you get you ready to rock. Thank you again,
Awesome.
Heather.
Perfect. Can't
Un-
wait.
until next time, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.